How's it going, everyone? It's Tommy from Weather Squad Drop. That was the day. It's May 20th, 2021, and today we're going to take a look at Invest 90L, which has a likely chance of becoming Tropical Storm and in the coming days. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. So let's first take a look at the IR loop for Invest 90L, and you see that it doesn't look very organized. We do see a lot of dry air on the the southwestern side, and we do see most of the convection on the eastern side and the northern portion of this storm. So it looks a lot like a mid-latitude cyclone. It doesn't really look much like a tropical cyclone at all. And you are correct by assuming that this is a mid-latitude cyclone because currently it's a non-tropical system, so it doesn't really have its tropical characteristics just yet. Let me zoom out to show you guys the full IR loop so you guys get a better picture of the exact length of the storm. And you see it's quite a broad storm, and it has that classic mid-latitude cyclone look where we're seeing the dry air on the southwestern side, and we're seeing a lot of convection on the eastern and the northern portions of the storm, a lot like an extratropical cyclone. However, it is expected to change and head into an environment where it should become slightly more tropical because the center of circulation of this storm, is currently forming at this point. There are two areas of rotation. We're seeing one right around the western side of the storm, right around Bermuda, and we're seeing another right around this thunderstorm cluster right here. However, I do expect the center of circulations to eventually combine, and they're gonna move southward as a result of that. Since as this low pressure system is expected to be lower at a lower pressure than this low pressure right here, and so essentially it's going to jump further southwestward and come close to the island of Bermuda. And as it moves further southwestward, it's going to head over an area where sea surface temperature should just be warm enough to consider this potentially a subtropical cyclone, or likely a subtropical cyclone. As at this point, taking a look at what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting with Invest 90L, it currently has a 70% chance of forming within the next 48 hours, and it increases to 90% within the next 5 days. So at this point, it's pretty much likely, and you could almost say guaranteed at this point, we're going to see some sort of tropical depression or storm out of this, and it's going to move towards an easterly direction, and it's going to come very close to the island of Bermuda. So one of your main questions might be how strong exactly this will be, and whether it has any chance of impacting land. Well, first let's take a look at the European model, the geopotential height, and the reason why this storm, one of the reasons why this storm is expected to develop into a tropical storm is because it's gonna get a little bit of help from the unstable air in this region. Because if this cold air wasn't right next to this low pressure system, then this wouldn't at all be strong enough to be a tropical storm, because the sea surface temperatures just aren't warm enough to really support very strong to support a very strong enough winds to be considered a tropical cyclone. If we take a look at the current ocean temperatures throughout the Atlantic, right now Invest 90L is right around this point, and you see that it's right around the 21 degrees Celsius mark, which is, I'd say, right around the lower 70-degree water, which isn't sufficient enough for tropical cyclone development unless there is just enough unstable air, or and there's just enough heat in the atmosphere to consider it at least tropical. However, once it moves further southwestward, it's going to head into an area where, while sea surface temperatures won't exactly reach 80 degrees, they're going to be close enough to at least make it have some sort of tropical characteristics, and it's going to be helped by the amount of unstable air that's going to be over this region. So as a result, a subtropical system is likely. I don't expect this to become fully tropical unless it takes a shift very far southwestward, which I find unlikely. So I do expect this to mainly remain as a tropical as a subtropical storm. But if we were to take a look at the GFS model moving forward, we do see a small non-tropical low right around Bermuda at this point. And like I said, this low pressure system and this low pressure system are expected to converge and create a bigger low pressure system. And this low pressure system is going to absorb more of that cold air, which will induce more convection around center of circulation. And once it moves southwest, where we're going to see it become more tropical. As you can see, the low pressures converge, and they're just right at Bermuda's doorstep. So in Bermuda, I'd pay close attention to this because while I don't expect it to be major in any way, I'd say it still does have the chance to bring some strong winds, potentially gusty winds and some rainfall over Bermuda. So you guys at least want to pay close attention to this. And then you see right around Saturday, low pressure comes very close to you guys. High surf should certainly be a concern if you're right around Bermuda with the center of circulation this close to you guys. But you see that the low pressure never really strengthens that much beyond 1,000, right around 1,000 millibars, and it's due to several reasons. For one thing is that the sea surface temperatures aren't going to be that warm or warm enough to really be sufficient enough for just rapid convection or very buoyant air molecules to support rapid intensification or intensification of any kind. And plus it's all the way through, it's just gonna deal with a lot of unstable air, and it's gonna be pretty much just barely a tropical cyclone, as it's more, I'd say, like an extratropical cyclone. And the thing is, with extratropical cyclones, they're very large when it comes to the wind field, so it's very difficult for them to really get very high in terms of sheer wind strength, because the energy, the vorticity is so large that it's hard for that vorticity to focus in the center of circulation and just create a very strong storm when it comes to wind speed. While the wind field will be large, it isn't enough. It's gonna be too large for that energy to focus around center of circulation for this to become any sort of major tropical storm or even come close to hurricane status. And you see that eventually there will be a dip in the jet stream, which will eventually pick this storm up, and I do expect it to just drift out into the open Atlantic, not being much of a worry to anybody. As you can see, it just drifts off into open Atlantic and merges with this extratropical low that's well into Canada and well into the northern Atlantic at this point. So this won't come close to the United States. There's going to be a blocking ridge right around the United States, so it can't really go straight into the United States. And the westerly winds are just going to be very strong in this region, and that's going to steer this out to sea. So no threat for the US, maybe elevated surf at best, but even then I don't expect the surf to be that much bigger than what you'd experience on a normal day. Taking a look at the GFS model to see how much rain you guys should expect right around Bermuda, you see the rain is mainly going to stay on the northwestern portion of this storm, which is typical when we're talking about storms that aren't really fully tropical, where we do see the dry air filter in on the southwestern side of the storm, and most of the convection occurs on the eastern and northern portion of the storm. So the good news is that Bermuda shouldn't miss out on most of the rainfall, the worst of the rainfall, as it should mainly be in the northern portion of the storm. But you certainly see that eventually the rain, there isn't going to be as much rain as before, as it sort of dries up, because because eventually there's just going to be too much dry air for this low pressure system to handle, and eventually it will drift off into the open Atlantic, not being much of a threat to anybody outside of Bermuda, which is certainly good news out of this. In terms of what the computer models are saying, so this is pretty much the spaghetti model guidance, where we do see that most of the computer models are expecting it to maybe loop right around Bermuda. So this might stick around for a little bit more than what you're typically used to right around Bermuda. but it shouldn't be anything major. Winds will be weak, as most of computer models agree that this won't be very strong. I'd say its peak potential is maybe 50, maybe 60 miles per hour at worst, but I don't expect it to reach that height, mainly because the sea surface temperatures just aren't warm enough to support tropical cyclone development. Taking a look at the wind shear, the surprising thing is that there isn't going to be that much wind shear over this storm. As you can see, it's going to be in an area where the outflow is going to be nice, right around just in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it's going to be in an area where the wind shear will be relatively light for at least some sort of tropical cyclone development right around Bermuda. But eventually, this will drift off into the open Atlantic as this jet stream dip brings back the strong wind shear we're typically used to this early in the season in the month of May. And speaking of tropical systems in May, I think this is like the fifth time we've had a tropical storm form in the month of May, so it's been just quite an active month over the past several hurricane seasons. So I really think the National Hurricane Center should consider pushing forward the hurricane season into the month of May, because it's coming to a point where it's becoming too common. We're seeing tropical cyclones in the month of May. When we're talking about 5 consecutive years of it, that certainly means that May is certainly a month where we could see tropical cyclone development, and it seems likely this will be the fifth consecutive time we will see a tropical storm form in the Atlantic. While it won't be a threat, which is certainly good news, it's still a tropical cyclone that will form and could maybe bring some impacts in Bermuda. So, yeah, outside of maybe the heavy rain and Bermuda that's possible, or the gusty winds and maybe high surf in Bermuda and possibly the East Coast, I do not expect much of this. This will drift off into open Atlantic, and this should be one of probably many storms that will occur in the 2021 hurricane season, and I'll make sure to update you guys on every single one that forms in the Atlantic this hurricane season. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day.